Hello Aquarius, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and my name is Laura. And this reading will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of April 2022 for Aquarius Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, before we get started with the reading, just do keep in mind that these readings are general in nature. So not everything that comes through will apply to you specifically. Definitely take anything and everything that does resonate. However, that applies to your specific situation. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and simply leave the rest. So Aquarius, I hope that you're doing well. Happy spring. Things are finally starting to kind of move forward, warm up. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming in for the month of April so that you can feel empowered to make the very best of it. As you can see, I've got your oracle cards here. I took a moment before I actually pulled those cards to sit down and try to connect with your energy and channel some information, channel some messages. So I will share that with you first to kick off the reading. We'll read your oracle cards. We'll pull some tarot and clarifiers and some affirmations at the very end. And I'm also going to do something a little different by pulling a final oracle card at the end, which will not just be open for interpretation. I'll just read directly from the guidebook. That's something I like to do in my readings for people one-on-one, so to see how that ties the details of the reading together. So yeah, I think we've covered everything, so we'll get started. So first off, Aquarius, I have to say, as I was getting ready to channel your energy and I was doing kind of like my ritual, getting everything prepared, I did pick up on this energy of just kind of like going through the motions. So maybe feeling a little bit disengaged, uninterested, not really having a huge amount of concern or involvement. It's very much like just knowing what you have to do and doing it, but not really caring, not really wanting to, not really getting much joy or satisfaction out of it. So you might be feeling a little bit disconnected or apathetic. That was kind of like the general vibe that I got, is like maybe not getting a whole lot of like joy or satisfaction out of your current situation. That could just be, your home life, relationships, family, career, like money. It could be anything, or just your personal mood in general. So I kind of feel like you guys need a little extra love this month. So I'll be interested to see what comes out in the cards for you. But it's funny. So on that note, that's the energy that I was picking up on. The first message that came through was honestly, whatever, which kind of goes hand in hand with that type of energy. Yeah, it just gave me the impression that like maybe you don't have the time, the energy, or the attention to really give much more, to really care too much. Maybe it's kind of like the things that are going on around you, you're like, whatever, like other people's problems, things that they want from you. Maybe you're just in a position right now where you don't necessarily feel equipped to handle much more than what you're handling. And it's kind of like the only way to get things done is to kind of disengage, maybe even on an emotional level. Maybe you're avoiding some challenging emotions or some frustration there. And so the easiest thing to do is just kind of like step back, disengage, and it's easier. Like the vibe that I'm getting is like, well, there's a lot of like stuff going on, so it's easier just not to care, because then at least you just kind of do what you need to do, or do the bare minimum, and that's it. So that's kind of like the energy that I was getting. The next thing that I got though was my frequency is rising. So perhaps the reason that you're feeling a little bit disengaged is because your connection to yourself, your kind of perception of the world around you, the things that are interesting you, perhaps you're going through a little bit of a shift, maybe a shift in identity, a shift in understanding, a shift in values. Maybe there's like a little bit of an awakening of sorts. And so it could very well be that the things that used to matter, that you used to be engaged in, are kind of old and tired and you're not feeling connected to anymore. Or maybe there are other things that you're drawn to. And so it's kind of like, that's quite often what happens. Like as we grow and as we progress, we inevitably kind of detach and disconnect and move on from the things that no longer align, and specifically the things that no longer serve us, that no longer, connect to our values and our passions, and what's important to us and our view of the world. So that could be it as well. It could be that you feel like you're kind of elevating in some way, you're changing in some way, and that's impacting what you want to be doing, what you want to be spending your time on and surrounding yourself with. And so you're not necessarily giving out a whole lot of additional energy to things that you're kind of moving away from. Or maybe you're focusing more on yourself and your own development in order to kind of bring in that new understanding and perspective. And in order to allow yourself that opportunity, it's like less energy and engagement in other areas of your life. So that could very well be what's going on. The next thing that came through was all aboard. And so that immediately gives me the vibe of like trains, buses, boats. So it's like you might be going on some kind of trip. You could be going on a cruise. You might have a flight planned. It might be something travel, and not necessarily just you on your own. It could be like a group trip. Maybe there's something like that in the works. And that's kind of like the other thing with all aboard is it's like, yeah, okay, everyone come, but it's also kind of like the final call, right? And so you might kind of feel like there's something that you want to do, there's something that you want to get in on, and you might kind of feel like this is the final call, this might be the last opportunity, and it's kind of like now or never, like you got to jump on the ship now or risk missing the boat. So there could be that kind of energy too, if that makes sense for you. The next thing that came through was formidable strength. So you might like currently be you might be tested. Maybe that's like an energy that you've been in. Maybe there's been struggle, challenge, loss, roadblocks, like things not working out for you, that has required you to kind of dig in a little bit deeper and find a little bit more strength than you initially thought that you had. This could be physical strength, emotional strength, mental strength, spiritual strength. It could be any, number or combination of things. But the idea that I get is like either you have a lot of strength that you're not aware of, or you're really being called to kind of like step into that and realize that like you're capable of more than you know, and that by allowing yourself to kind of step into that energy, it's going to bring you maybe more confidence or more acceptance of yourself. But yeah, I kind of feel like if there's something major going on that you're finding to be really taxing and really troublesome, I would encourage you to see how that might be testing you, leveling you up, allowing you to see your strength. And so if you can see that there's a value in that situation, and it's not just there to bring you down, but it's there to kind of test you so that you can come into a new understanding of everything that you're capable of, then that might be helpful in navigating whatever way that energy might show up for you. The next thing that came up was Opus. And then it immediately made me think of Mr. Holland's Opus, which is like an old movie. I watched it a long, long time ago. I didn't remember the details, so I did some Googling. So initially I Googled what the definition of opus is, and it's kind of like a work or a composition. So it's kind of like a piece of music that has been created, like a work in music. So you might be musical, you might be a musician, you might, have a desire to write a song, you might be working on a song, or perhaps there is a specific song that is particularly meaningful to you that you've really been focused on. And then with the movie Mr. Holland's Opus, if you haven't seen it, you might want to think about watching it and see. But it's kind of interesting because the general theme of the movie, I'll read it to you. So it says, Glenn Holland is a musician and composer who takes a teaching job to pay the rent, while in his spare time he can strive to achieve his true goal, compose one memorable piece of music to leave his mark on the world. As Holland discovers, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, and as the years unfold, the joy of sharing his contagious passion for music with his students becomes his new definition of success. So the kind of takeaway from that is that you might be really focused on achieving a specific goal. Maybe it's like you want to be rich and famous, you want to be known for something, you want to have like a huge amount of money or a nice big house. Like there might be something that you're really striving for, and you may have set a definition for success, and like you're just toiling away at something that doesn't necessarily mean anything to you right now, in the hopes that you can kind of achieve that big dream. And the kind of theme of this movie is that it's like there sometimes are other ways to get to that big dream, or sometimes it doesn't manifest in the way that we expect. So for example, like maybe you don't make a memorable piece of music that makes you famous, but maybe your love for music that's driving you to want to achieve that is going to allow you to connect with and inspire and educate so many people and have a bigger impact than you could have imagined, right? So just in a different way. And so it's kind of like recognizing that, living your passion, sharing that with other people, and not limiting yourself to one definition of success. That success can still show up, and sometimes it shows up in a way that's more meaningful to us and that we never could have expected. So it could be something like something to do with your ideas about success, money, prosperity, attention and recognition, and like not boxing yourself into one specific thing, making sure that whatever that is that you're doing is truly guided by your heart, because that is going to manifest in its own beautiful way. And it's not necessarily something that we can like put limitations on, right? So it's kind of like allowing yourself to live an adventure and a passionate life, and to trust that that will take you in the direction you want to go in. The next thing that came through was obvious truths. So it's kind of like, I kind of got the impression that there might be some obvious truths, some things that you know are either right for you or wrong for you, something that you want to be pursuing, something that you need to let go of. You will know what that is, but it's like, I kind of get the sense that you've known it all along, and maybe you've been avoiding it, or avoiding making a decision or taking action, doing something that needs to be done. And I feel like it's just, they're becoming so glaringly obvious that you can no longer overlook them. And so you might be kind of coming up to decision day. If this makes sense to you, you might also have a lot of stress about taking action on whatever this is, or doing what you need to do and what's right for you. And so I would say, like, chances are, if you kind of get past that energy and follow your heart and do what you need to do, you're going to be relieving yourself of a lot of extra stress and burden. So the next thing that came through was everything must end at some point. And so that's kind of weird. It's true, right? So it's like, whether it's our lives, you know, whether it's like 15 minutes of fame, whether it's a job or a relationship, it's like inevitably things change and things come to an end. And that's just a natural part of the life cycle. You know, even on a small scale, we are constantly going through cycles where we're learning and growing, and then once we've mastered a lesson, we let go of certain ideas or concepts or behaviors, and we move on to the next thing. And so I think it's like, it's normal to understand that things end. Sometimes we feel they end prematurely. Endings can be painful. And so however that energy of like endings showing up in your life, I get the sense that you might need to do some kind of soul searching, maybe some emotional work to make peace with the fact that ending, although painful and difficult and challenging, it is a beautiful and natural part of life, and it serves a purpose for our growth ultimately, even if it doesn't seem beneficial at the time. The next thing that came through was overthinking and overanalyzing. So you might find yourself getting really caught up in your mind, ruminating. You might have anxiety, like a lot of unhelpful thoughts. And I kind of like, the impression that I got is it's like something might set you off and get you into like a negative headspace, or trigger your fears. And then it's like, once you start thinking about all of the things that are wrong, or all of the things that could go wrong, it's like it just snowballs and gets like totally over control, and you end up completely like drowning in unhelpful thoughts and dominated by your mind, and it's really hard to come back from that. So I would just say, be mindful of your thoughts, especially the ones that are unhelpful and disempowering, that don't make you particularly happy. That might be a challenge. The next thing that came through is my favorite person. So there might be someone in particular this month that you're thinking about, that's on your mind, that pops up, that you're wanting to connect with or reconnect with or spend time with. So maybe that person needs to hear from you. Maybe you need to focus a little bit more of your attention on whoever that is. And then the thing that came up right after was grateful for you. So I get the sense that like, whoever this is that's on your mind, this person, and I get the sense that it's like, it's in a positive, loving, like happy way. It's not like a burden or a drain or an obligation. But I get the sense that like in this person being your favorite and being on your mind and someone that you want to kind of like be around. You have gratitude for them and whatever they bring to your life or whatever their energy is. And I think that gratitude is, I got the sense that gratitude is both ways. So that person likely feels the same way about you. So that makes sense. I'm not sure. The next thing that came through was impeccable timing and like divine timing. So it's trusting that sometimes things unfold just as they're meant to, in the timing that they're meant to. And it's kind of like we can't control everything. Sometimes we just have to allow life to unfold and to trust that the things that are really meant for us are not going to pass us by. And so there might be something that comes up, like it's just perfect timing. Like you might run into somebody, maybe your favorite person, right? You might run into them unexpectedly in some kind of, unexpected circumstance. And it's like, wow, perfect timing. Like everything had to transpire just the way it did in order for us to cross paths at this time. Like, however that idea of perfect timing, impeccable timing shows up, it's to know that that's not a coincidence, that is, divine timing. And when those things happen, they're meant to happen for a reason, whether it's validation on something that we've been thinking about, whether it's like, reconnecting us with someone, connecting us with an opportunity that would be helpful to us. It's like that is meaningful in that way. So that might be the way that like there might be synchronicities and things like that showing up for you this month. The next thing that came through is ignorance is bliss. And so you might kind of, especially if you're going through challenges and feeling a little bit apathetic, you might be wanting to kind of lean into that energy, like the less I know, the better. I would say that it's absolutely true. If there are situations that are out of your control that you can't do anything about, particularly if it's involved with like other people and relationships, what it makes me think of is like, if you've got an ex partner, an ex friend, someone that you're on the outs with that you're not going to be rekindling or you shouldn't be in contact with. It's like, not checking up on them, not talking to people about what they're doing. Like you don't need play by play. You don't need to know what's going on with them because that's not going to be helpful for your healing and your growth and moving on from that situation. So it's like that kind of energy. It doesn't have to be a person or a relationship, but it's kind of like in that case, yes, it's best not to torture yourself with the details of something that is not going to help you. But then the other side of that is that when it comes to things that are important and meaningful and that need to be acted upon, things that you need to take responsibility for, things that can help you along your path. We don't want to be ignoring those things, right? Because they're showing up for a reason. And if we do ignore them, that energy will continue to show up. Sometimes it ends up getting to a point where it's like you can't ignore it anymore. You don't have the option necessarily to ignore it. It just becomes so blatantly obvious that something has to be done. So that's kind of the vibe that I get, is like, save yourself the pain of the things that you don't need to be worried about, but the things that you do need to do, whether you want to or not, that are going to be beneficial for you, that energy is going to keep showing up. So do yourself a favor and take care of those things before they get out of control. The next thing that came through was Portugal and then Lagos. And it's funny because Portugal and Lagos came through together. And I was like, I don't know what Lagos is. I don't even know if that is a place in Portugal. And it turns out it is. It's like a coastal area. So I don't know, maybe that place has some significance to you. Maybe you have vacationed there, visited there. Maybe you're going there or you want to go back. Maybe there's a specific memory or a person tied to that place. I don't know. So yeah, I would be curious to know about that. The next thing that came through was rewinding the tape, or like a sense of turning back time, turning back the clock. So like maybe wanting to go back to a simpler time when things were good. Maybe it's like wanting to go back to Portugal, or like the energy that you were in, the way that you felt, the way that your life was. But yeah, so it could be like maybe resisting your current situation and your current feelings and so on, and wanting to go back, to a simpler or happier time. There could be a sense of nostalgia, good memories, but there also could be a little bit of pain and avoidance there, wanting things to be different than they are. So I would just say, like, be mindful of your emotions when it comes to anything nostalgic and any desire to kind of go back in time. because, we can't be so deeply tied to the past that it prevents us from moving forward right now, because that's where our power is now. So, just be gentle with yourself in terms of emotions, and not committing yourself to mourning the past to the extent that you're not taking advantage of your opportunity to live and experience joy right now. And then finally, the last thing that came through, which I think is a really nice note to end on for your channeled messages, is free to do what I want. And it's like that song, like, I'm free to do what I want and have a good time. So maybe, I don't know if that's how you're feeling. Maybe that's the energy you want to get into. It's kind of like the sense of freedom, doing what you want, not in a reckless or avoidant way, but I think like just embracing your ability to choose what's right for you, to do what's right for you. So you might want to look up that song, either listen to the song or the lyrics and see if those resonate for you. So yeah, that's it. So let's get into your cards. Gosh, long channeled messages. So your first card is Never Ending Story. Actually, I'll put this down over here. And your second card is Big Bold Vision. Okay, so what's interesting is the general theme of both of these cards have a lot to do with like self-limitation, right? Hold on, I'm just going to try and change the light in here a little bit. I think that's better. Yeah, so it has to do with like self-imposed limitations, limiting beliefs, fears. It could be insecurities, things that we've been told about who we're allowed to be, how we're allowed to act, what we're allowed to do, what's possible, and how we can kind of, sabotage ourselves and our opportunity for joy and to experience the things that are going to be meaningful to us because we kind of deny them at some level for whatever reason. So for Never Ending Story, this is about the story that you tell yourself, right? It's kind of like your inner voice, your inner critic is a lot of the way that this energy can come across. So it's like, it can be like fear that keeps you paralyzed. So it can keep you committed to a job that is absolutely not right for you and is making you unhappy, but basically saying like, well, I have to work this job for the rest of my life because that's just how it goes. And I'm not allowed to have a job that I enjoy and I need to work this job. And if I don't, nothing else is out there. And it could be, the same for, an opportunity. It could be the same for like, starting your own business or pursuing a creative hobby. It could be about a relationship. So it could be like being in a relationship and saying this is all that this can ever be and not allowing it to be anything more, or having really limiting beliefs about the type of person or the types of relationships that are out there. And it's kind of like whatever you believe to be true is ultimately what you're going to experience, right? Because if you don't see anything more than that, then you can't possibly accept that it's in your reality, let alone engage with it, appreciate it, benefit from it. So this is about being mindful of the ways that our mind can trick us into like self-sabotaging, staying in situations that are not healthy or beneficial. And it's kind of like also denying your inner knowing, right? And so this is basically saying like those thoughts, those fears, those feelings, those limiting beliefs, all the things that you should do and shouldn't do, like, the right way to live life. Like, no, you shouldn't, if you enjoy playing music or if you enjoy painting, like, no, you shouldn't play music and paint because, you should be focused on working and making money. And when you're not at work and making money, you should be, doing other things because the things that make you happy are not going to, give you the life that you want to have, right? Those are the examples of lies that we tell ourselves. And those are ways that we've been conditioned, sometimes by our parents, the people close to us, significant others. And so it's basically like allowing yourself to disconnect from that and recognizing that that is not your truth. That's just like, it's almost something that you've committed to protect yourself, because to do the opposite, to follow your heart, to indulge in your passions, to create room for yourself in your own life, and to do things that feel right to you as opposed to being forced to do things that you are told are right, that is actually going to create exactly the kind of life that you want to be living, because that's a part of you. It's like a part of your energy, your soul, your DNA that's longing to be expressed. And if you are denying it, then you're essentially denying yourself at a core level, and you're not allowing yourself to connect to your own energy and to express yourself. And so that is dampening your entire experience. And so the life that you're going to live and the feelings that you're going to have as a result are connected to whatever it is that you're thinking. And if you're thinking that, like, you know, life isn't here to be lived, or it's like all work, no play, or, you know, not allowing your emotions and your happiness and your joy to have a place in life because it's like not necessarily practical, or maybe it's scary. It could be scary to connect with those energies and to give yourself that freedom because you've been made to believe that it isn't possible or that it's not okay. You don't know what life would look like if you were to start living more like in a heart-centered and intuitive way and trusting yourself and what you feel as opposed to what you think. And so this is like, yeah, this can be a never-ending story that we tell ourselves. And if you commit to that story that doesn't necessarily serve you or make you happy, or, you know, it keeps you stuck in limiting situations, unhappy situations, that can very well be with you for forever, right? And sometimes we are so accustomed to thinking and feeling that way that we don't even do it consciously. It just kind of runs the show for us. And so this is basically saying, like, you can write a new story. You can change your mind about those things, because if you recognize that it's just a story, it's not truth, it's something that you've been told, it's something that you absorbed and you took it for truth, and that's what all of your fears are based on, then if you were to say, like, I'm going to tell myself a different story, that, like, I'm allowed to do the things that I want to do. If there's someone in my life that I don't enjoy spending time with or doesn't feel right to be around, I don't have to spend time around them. If there's someone that I feel drawn to, I'll go to them. If there's a job that I feel like I want to do, I'll go do that job. If there's no problem, but it's just wanting to connect with something more, allow yourself to do that, and recognizing that, you know, because it's your mind and your thoughts, you can tell yourself whatever story you want, and not in a delusional, avoidant kind of way, like in a way that allows you to connect with your inner truths and what makes you happy in your heart, right? Like the things that feel like sunshine to you. And that is connected to this card, this big, bold vision. So this is basically saying, like, there is something that you want to achieve. There is something that you want to do, something that you want to connect with or experience. And, you know, it very well could be that an opportunity to connect or for that to kind of begin to manifest might come up this month. You know, whether it's career, money, home, relationship, a creative endeavor, however that makes sense to you. It's kind of like, I think you get the sense already that it's there because it's probably one of the things that you are, you know, disbelieving or denying yourself from, being stuck in your head. And this is about recognizing that, like, you have that vision for a reason. It's not a coincidence. And that, like I was saying before, the things that are meant for you will find a way. And so you kind of will feel that spark, will feel that draw, whether or not you're willing to let yourself move forward on it. The things that are connected to that kind of vision, that purpose, that bigger picture for you in terms of your purpose and fulfillment, that there will be signs and synchronicities showing up. Like, you know, there will be opportunities that show up, and it's just a matter of being able to recognize that it's not a coincidence. Like, it's happening for a reason. It's giving you the opportunity to connect with something that you're already feeling a draw to. And that the more you allow yourself to connect with that energy when those opportunities come up, the more that will continue to happen, right? Because it's like the universe is on your side. So it's like you might have like a big idea, you know, there might be something that you want to achieve that seems unattainable or seems unreasonable, but it's something that you can't explain, something that you feel really drawn to. And it's like, I can't shake this feeling. I can't shake this sense that, like, this is meant to be, or this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is where I'm going to go. And so it's basically saying, like, whatever that is, just hold that vision, right? Allow yourself to connect with that. Allow that to inspire you, and just be curious and keep an open mind, because you don't have to know how that's going to transpire, right? You don't have to know how it's going to look. So it's kind of like the Mr. Holland's Opus thing, right? Like, he is essentially just looking for a sense of meaning and fulfillment through impacting other people through music. But he thought it was going to come in the form of being like a famous rich composer who writes this one really amazing piece, and it ended up coming through him teaching, right? So it's like, keep in mind that whatever it is that you're longing to experience, you can experience it, but you probably aren't going to know how. And it's kind of like, your life is meant to be a journey and an adventure, right? So there might be an opportunity that comes up that is connected to whatever this is, and you might not even see how that opportunity could possibly end up in, you know, your end goal or the steps that you might take. But it's like, it is an adventure, right? It's meant to be, it's meant to be a lived experience. You're meant to learn and grow and to kind of follow your heart through it. And it's like, there will be ups and downs, there will be twists and turns and unexpected things. And, you know, that's part of living the heart-centered path and allowing yourself to connect to your passion. And so whatever that meaningful thing is to you, just keep an eye out this month for anything that feels connected to that, even if it's just connected to like the feeling that you want to feel. And realize that our mind likes to get away from us and likes to overthink and overanalyze and overplan, and to have everything kind of neatly planned out and carefully organized so that things will just go one after the other, well, step by step, end goal, success. And that's not the way things happen, right? And so it's kind of letting go of the fear around trusting the process, trusting your experience, and allowing yourself to be open to the opportunities that come up to you. Because if you have opportunities that spark that same enthusiasm as the enthusiasm you have for whatever you want to create, then you're probably meant to connect with that energy and to have that experience, because it's going to help you continue along your path or find your way. So this is all part of your purpose, and it's being aware of any signs and synchronicities, any kind of like repeating themes or patterns, any coincidences, like running into people or connecting with opportunities. That might be really big, and it's helping you kind of get out of your head and open up to a new possibility. And this is also about connecting to these cards both speak to connecting to your intuition. So freeing yourself from overthinking and limiting beliefs that don't serve you. So it's like, well, yeah, so it might be like, oh, you don't marry for love, you marry for stability, right? And it's like, maybe you want to marry for love, and that's what's important to you. And it's like, you have to get over this idea that you need to be fearful about marrying for love instead of money, because it's like, if you allow your fear to guide you, then if you want love, money's not going to make up for it, and stability is not going to make up for it. That's probably not going to go away. So it's paying attention to the things that you know that are right for you, or that you want. And that's just one example that came to mind. But it's like, the things that you know are right for you, the things that you want to experience, that's a part of you that isn't going to go away, right? And no matter how much fear will keep you from it, like, it's just going to make committing to something that isn't right more difficult. And so it's recognizing that, like, you know on the inside, and it's okay to trust that. So there are things that you know that you can't explain, you can't justify. There's no scientific formula or maybe evidence that's obvious to somebody else, but it's like, you have the power to know certain things, like, intuitively. And it's okay to tap into that. And this might be a good month to start doing so, paying attention to your feelings and paying attention to those signs and synchronicities that are tied to that, and seeing that that's part of the bigger picture, right? It's part of the life that you're meant to lead. And this is not only, let me just say, it's not only about your own limiting beliefs, but it's also that when we make decisions out of that place of fear and limitation, because it's like, well, this is how we have to live, or this is what we're supposed to do, a lot of times we attract or connect with people who have the same kind of outlook and mindset, similar kinds of wounds. And so they'll reinforce that energy for us. And so sometimes it can also show up in relationships. So with friends, family, significant others, bosses, co-workers, So sometimes those people will basically like even tell us. They tell us the same critical things that our mind does about what we're capable of doing or what we should be focused on or what's worth our time and what isn't. And it's recognizing that not only do you have to allow yourself to connect with your heart and your hope, but to like remove yourself from the people that are trying to control you or to keep you stuck in that energy. So, you know, if you've got someone in your life that's telling you like, well, no, you can't just go do what you want. You can't do what you want to do because you need to have, you know, this job and you need to make this money so that we can do this and that. Or like, you know, like, no, you could never start your own business or whatever it is, like whatever it is that is really important to your happiness and fulfillment that isn't being acknowledged. And anyone who is trying to kind of keep you on a one track, like a narrow path, I guess. It's recognizing that person is suffering from the same things that you are. And they're looking for stability through you because they think that if they just follow these steps, things will work out okay, but they're not allowing themselves to connect with their passions. And so they've got the same wounds as you, and that it's likely if you want to connect with something healthier and happier, it's connecting with people who are doing things like that. So the people that you're surrounded with, that are listening to themselves, their feelings and their intuition, that are giving themselves the opportunity to express themselves. And so it's like this negative critical thoughts that you have, but it's also the people who tell you that and try to keep you in that energy or make you feel bound to doing things a certain way. Because it's like, you know, in all relationships, we need to have flexibility. So if there are people that you can maybe get more support from, that can encourage you to connect more, lean into those relationships, right? And the people who are not necessarily helpful or who are suffering from the same kind of things as you, like stepping away from them a little bit. And that's funny because your first card for this month is the Four of Cups. Your second card is the Page of Cups, and already this makes a huge amount of sense. Okay. Your third card is the Fool. All right, let's get you one more. Oh my gosh, Aquarius, this is wild. Your final card is the World. Wow. So this actually, like, it kind of goes hand in hand with the channeled messages, I feel. And the Four of Pentacles is at the bottom of the deck. Oh my gosh. This is so interesting. I want to start reading them immediately, but I'm going to get your clarifiers right away. And then I'll read all of the tarot cards together just for the sake of simplicity. Okay, so the Four of Cups is clarified by Temperance. Let's clarify the Page of Cups. Sorry, I just got a whole chunk of cards here. Let's get one clarifier for the Page of Cups. We've got the Emperor, sorry. Okay, let's get clarification on the Fool card. Oh my gosh. No one card came out. I just fumbled the whole deck. Okay, clarify the Fool. We've got the Tower. Goodness, Aquarius, you have a lot of major arcana. Like, you got some big stuff going on right now, which kind of doesn't surprise me. Okay, so we'll clarify the World here. You've got a lot of cards that are like wanting to come out, but it's like they're just not quite there. Okay. Well, if we needed validation, I love seeing that. Okay, Four of Cups again. I love seeing the Four of Cups come out at the beginning and the end of the spread, because that tells me that there's the opportunity for you to really work through that energy. Okay. So the Four of Pentacles and the Daughter of Pentacles, which is the Page of Pentacles, being at the bottom of the deck, this is very much a materially focused energy. Focus on money, material possessions. It could be career. It could even be home and family life, house. So basically like abundance in the material world. So it might be that you're someone who's very practical, very much focused on your money, on your work. If you have a house or like a home, maybe like paying off a mortgage, establishing, kind of like the vibe that I get is it's like trying to do everything. Right? So it's like you're trying to get that good, stable career. You're trying to have money in the bank. You're trying to have spending money. You're trying to have nice things and like a house and a car and, like either you have a family or you're wanting to save for a family. So it's kind of like, the struggle to feel abundant with what you have, because there are so many things that you're working to establish, because this is still like kind of a young energy. So it's like you haven't quite done everything that you want to do. Like it gives me the sense that like you might just have recently, and this could be like in the last like couple of years, come into a little bit more abundance and stability and been at a place where it's like now you can start kind of working on all these things like retirement savings, family savings, going on trips, having nice things, buying a house. Like maybe you've got a steady enough, stable enough income that you've been able to start making those moves, but it's very early still. Like you don't have the level of stability that you want. And this can be like about feeling a struggle to like feel abundant and grateful and like you're doing enough and that you have enough while you're continuing along that path. Because the Four of Pentacles can be a card of like great stability and like peace of mind and being really smart when it comes to spending and saving. But it can also be like the miser card, right? So it's like clinging too tightly to the money that you have or being too worried. So having a lot of fear about money, abundance, prosperity, fear about your ability to achieve the things that you want to achieve in the material world, having enough money, like not wanting to spend money on things that you need because you're trying to save. So it can also be like a very restrictive energy out of fear. And it's basically like if you're holding on to your money too tightly and you're resisting spending on the things that you need to spend, but also spending you don't want to spend recklessly, but there are also, you deserve to kind of like be able to enjoy your life now at the same time instead of living solely for the future. And that's kind of the thing that I get. It's like if you're holding on too tightly, then you don't have a free hand to receive more. So if you're focused on everything that you lack and you're limiting yourself in the material sense because you're really focused on getting your money straight and having enough in the future, it's like, you're almost kind of blocking yourself by having that much fear. So there might be like something to do with your ideas about prosperity and abundance, what success in the material realm looks like, that's kind of like driving all of this. So it could be very much related to your money and your career in that realm. But you are being encouraged to come into this month with this Four of Cups energy. And what's funny is that I got in the channeled messages and that energy, I was kind of picking up on, that, disconnection, that apathy, going through the motions. That is this card. That is the Four of Cups. That is the apathetic, not particularly engaged, not particularly interested. And this is like, especially relating to emotional fulfillment. So it can be disappointment, it can be sadness, it can be hurt. And it's kind of like sometimes when we have experiences that are hurtful or that are disappointing, or even when we just have a mindset that keeps us in this low place emotionally, a lot of the time we focus on the things that we don't have. And because we focus on what we don't have or what hasn't worked out or what hasn't been fulfilling, we don't recognize the opportunities for connection and fulfillment and abundance and happiness that are ahead of us. And so sometimes we end up getting in a rut where we're so disengaged and apathetic that we almost don't believe that happiness is possible or a deeper level of satisfaction is possible, because we're so heavily focused on what we don't have and what hasn't worked out that we almost convince ourselves that things can't go that way. And so that's like really interesting, because you can see like she's not interested. She's disengaged. She's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? And like looking back on the past and these empty cups that have proven to be fruitless, right? But meanwhile, there's a cup full of happiness and abundance and opportunity, love, connection. It can be like romantic love. It can be like emotional connections, and, joy. And it's right here. And she's not even looking at it, right? So she's not choosing. And so sometimes it can be like, we might have abundance and we might have opportunities in front of us, and we deny ourselves the ability to connect with it, even if we do see it, or we're so busy focused on the past and those like limiting beliefs, this never-ending story, that we don't even recognize that there's anything good there or that anything better can happen. And so it's kind of being willing to recognize that like this apathy, this disconnection, this feeling of not being engaged, not really caring, and just going through the motions, that's not you, and that's not how your everyday life is meant to be. That's a symptom of something that you've been through. It could be an emotional experience. It could be a disappointment from the past. It could be something hurtful or limiting that you were taught to believe that doesn't serve you. So this is basically like, wherever this energy is showing up for you, there's a wound there. There's something there that's connected to, the story that you tell yourself about your worth, your value, what you're capable of achieving, what your life is allowed to look like, that needs to be brought into balance. So coming into the month, being willing to take a look at that disengagement as, an unfortunate side effect of something that you've experienced, instead of something that you just need to deal with and commit to. Because it's like, you don't have to live in that energy, but if you decide not to balance it out, it will continue. So basically it coming up with temperance is saying like, you've got some past hurts and disappointments and some focus on the past that needs to be healed and balanced out. And it's like, of course, not everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows, and you don't have to be, some eternal optimist that's like totally out to lunch and impractical, but you don't need to be like doom and gloom, nihilist kind of, everything, all of these things were disappointing, so that means life is just disappointing and there's no opportunity for anything more. It's recognizing that that's just a protective mechanism because you've been struggling on an emotional level because of whatever your mind has been telling you that isn't quite true. And so in balancing that out and recognizing that like life is always about duality, right? There's always going to be good and bad, things that we perceive as positive and negative, things that are joyful and things that are challenging. And we're meant to have that variety of experiences. And it's up to us to decide what we do with those experiences, how we're going to learn and grow. And we really have to be able to balance things out, right? So when things are really low, we have to kind of figure out like, okay, how do I connect with something positive? How do I encourage myself? How do I not get sucked down into the hole, right? Or completely disconnect from everyone around me on an emotional level and just stare off into the abyss, right? So it's kind of like, you need to kind of have an awareness of what you're feeling and experiencing, especially the stuff that is making you feel scared and limited and that just is not particularly empowering, and to recognize that you can do something to balance that out, whether it's getting help or support from an outside source or just having some kind of self-care routine. But that's the energy that you're encouraged to come into this month with. Your challenge this month is going to be allowing yourself to dream big, right? So this big, bold vision, whatever that is, whatever it is that calls to you, that feels meaningful, that feels important, that something might be materializing. You might be feeling the desire to connect with it. There might be opportunities to connect with it. Maybe signs and synchronicities coming up for you. This is when pigs can fly card, right? Which is like, oh, it could be incredibly highly unlikely. And you might think that, no, whatever this vision is that you want to dream of, that like, absolutely, there's no way that could ever be possible because you can't figure out how it would happen. And it's like, just because you can't figure out how it would happen does not mean that it's not possible. And it's not up to you to figure it out. And also, you're not really qualified you don't have all the information that you need in order to be able to determine if that's possible or not, right? Usually the thing that shoots that pig down is your fear. So, and the thing is that it's like a lot of the time we don't allow ourselves to dream and to connect with our feelings and our passion and our creativity because we think that it's impractical. And that could be tied to like if somebody told you like, you know, your hobbies aren't important, or your creative endeavors aren't important, or the things that are important to you don't have value, or you can't do anything with that in your life. If that's been limiting you, it's recognizing that like he's not just floating up there, you know, untethered and kind of like, yeah, like I said, out to lunch and impractical. He is like, it's almost like he's astral projecting himself, right? So it's like he's still rooted, right? He's got some kind of solidity there. And so he has the ability to be practical, but he's allowing his mind to kind of go into a space where there's more hope and there's more possibility, where he's able to create, and this doesn't have to be male energy, but able to connect with, you know, possibilities, opportunities, able to kind of daydream, like, if I was to do something really meaningful, what would that look like? Or what is my idea of happiness? What does that look like? Is it like being in a marriage with a certain person and having kids, or is it being single and traveling the world, or, you know, whatever the case may be? It's like allowing yourself to consider what that is, whether it seems practical to you or not, because you can be rooted firmly on the ground and you can pull inspiration and idea and creativity from up here in this dream kind of state, whether it's reasonable or not. And you can allow that to guide your action in a practical way that can take even the wildest dreams and make them practical, root them into reality. And so that's going to be your challenge, is allowing yourself to connect to your creativity and your passion and what is going to be most emotionally fulfilling to you, to daydream and to allow that to open your mind to a new approach and new possibilities, particularly when it comes to love and joy and fulfillment. And with that coming up with the Emperor, it's like, it's because it's going to require you to release your need to control, you know, to control other people, to control situations, to control yourself, to control your outcome. Because the Emperor is a very firmly rooted energy. It can be stubborn, it can be insistent, it can be bossy. It is very good at getting things done and accomplished. And so it's like you might need to set that energy on the back burner and not sabotage yourself, because this need to be kind of like rooted and practical and in control and like that driving force that just makes things happen the way you want them to happen actually interferes with this creative process. And the creative process and the daydreaming process is exactly what helps you to get in touch with yourself and your emotions and what's most important and inspiring to you. So it's like, and that kind of goes back to temperance. It's like, you're going to have to buy, this is water and this is fire. And this is water and this is fire. Temperance is a Sagittarius card, so it's associated with fire. And so it's like, you are going to have to start tempering, you know, your action, your passion, your drive, like the things that kind of make you take action in the world. Tempering that with your emotions, with your subconscious, with your intuition, with your desires, like the desires of your heart, the things that you want to feel and experience in your life. And recognizing that that is a lot more fluid. It's not something that you can control. And it's kind of like allowing those energies to marry together. So that's going to be a challenge this month, is just like letting yourself step out of that firmly rooted energy and kind of like do a little bit of daydreaming. And the way that you're being encouraged to kind of embrace and step into that is like, take a leap of faith, right? So it's like, if you were to recognize that this never-ending story that causes you to feel, you know, negative or insecure, or to question yourself, or to feel unworthy, or like, you know, you can't do this and you can't be this way, all the limitations that you put on yourself and how you can show up in the world, like I said, it's just an idea, it's just a story. It's only true if you believe it. So you can tell yourself a story that is empowering and is going to help you connect to your heart. And that's what this is all about. The Fool is all about a new opportunity to live a more heart-centered life. It's having the opportunity, and this could go with this big, bold vision, because there might be an opportunity to connect with your heart's desires, or to kind of, see the beginning of something, that's meaningful to you being able to manifest. And it's like, it's kind of like you can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. This is the same thing. It's like you can't have this really happy, fulfilled, meaningful life if you don't take action in a way that is happy and fulfilled. And the Fool is somebody who follows their heart, right? And so it's like, yeah, there is a sense of needing to take a leap of faith, doing something a little bit differently, stepping into uncertainty, even if it feels insecure, and even if you've got fears around it. It's recognizing that sometimes the best way to like shift that energy is to just do something different, and to trust your heart and what is most important to you. And that's a major arcana. This, like I said, major arcana, there's 5. And that's like wild. And so for that to come up with the Tower, it's basically saying that in order to kind of start embracing what's most important to you, following your heart, allowing yourself to be connected to the things that inspire you, the things that you feel are connected to your purpose, whatever vision you have for yourself and your life, it's like recognizing that that's meant to be, and it's up to you to kind of take that first step. But it's not going to feel safe and secure. It's not going to be firmly rooted. It's not going to be obvious, and you're not going to have control over it. It's like you have to just connect to yourself, know yourself, make the decision that you feel is best for you, and then you kind of have to take each step as it comes, and you have to trust that you have everything you need inside of you to navigate your own way. But yeah, there is going to be uncertainty. There is going to be fear. And, this is a beautiful journey, but there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be challenges, and it's trusting that those things come up to give you the opportunity to learn. And in order for you to step into this energy, in order to dream, right, you kind of have to allow yourself to let go of all the things that are tethering you, and to connect with something higher, like a higher inspiration. It's going to require you to let go, like to let go of something massive. It could be like a huge shift, a crumbling down of something that was otherwise very stable in your life. So it could be simply your concept of prosperity, your belief about work and money. It could be a relationship or a person, like anything that's basically tied to this limiting energy. This is about allowing it to be kind of torn down. It's an ending. So it's like anything that's not helping you is hurting you, essentially. And so, yeah, in order to step onto this new path, you might need to completely have a major shift or a major loss of something that otherwise was really stable. Because if it was keeping you stable in this unhappy story, you can't very well take the first step on this new, more authentic path, right? So it's kind of like, the sense that I get is that whatever's tying you down to the kind of like negativity that's keeping you from being able to follow your heart, that could be just in your mind. It could be a job. It could be, relationships with family members or significant others. It could be just your ideas. It's like that is going to kind of have to come crashing down. And there's very much a sense of like a fresh start and being able to do something that makes sense to you, right? Because like the Emperor here is your challenge in this tree, and like this tree is going to be cracked down. So it's also kind of, I think, relinquishing your ego and your need to identify yourself with your ego and as being a certain way, because that's influenced likely by this story that you've been telling yourself that isn't necessarily representative of who you are at your core and what's most valuable to you. And the really amazing thing with this giant energy is that this is a beginning. This is an ending. Beautiful beginning, somewhat tumultuous or painful ending or major shift, right? And the highest possible outcome for this month is the World, which is, this is like the pinnacle of almost like enlightenment, awakening, understanding. It's like coming to the end of a cycle, learning a major life lesson, having a new perspective on life. And so it's kind of like you've been through all of this, you've navigated it, you've grown, you've made changes, and it's like now you have this new perspective on life and on yourself and how things are working. And I kind of feel like this is connecting to more hope, more meaning, more passion, recognizing that you deserve fulfillment in your life, that you deserve to honor whatever this vision is, whatever's calling to you, that you don't need to commit yourself to a life of feeling limited and criticizing yourself and the ways that that's holding you back in all areas of your life. So the world, it's like having a big picture view, right? Leveling up in a sense that the things that you used to believe, the things that you used to say and do, you realize that they were never serving you. And you realize that everything that you experienced was just testing you to get you to realize the way that you were criticizing and limiting and sabotaging yourself. And that you have this like freedom to start living your own life in a way that makes sense to you and surrounding yourself with people who are supportive of that, right? To dream, like dare to dream and to start making decisions based on what you feel. And with the world coming up here, the world is like, this is the last major arcana card. So it's like, yeah, this is a major cycle. This is a major life lesson kind of being completed. And you letting go of anything and everything that no longer serves you and having this new outlook and new perspective to kind of take you on this new path so that you can start connecting with even more. And there's like so much out there for you that, and it could be connected specifically to this big, bold vision and bringing you closer to that. And this is also like acceptance that you don't need to know the whole picture. You don't need to know and control all of the details. You don't need to know what it's going to look like step by step or exactly how it's going to manifest, because you can trust yourself to navigate and that things will go as they are meant to when you're in like a more heart-centered space instead of, committing to the things that aren't necessarily serving you. So for this major ending card and enlightenment to come up, it's like leveling up spiritually and emotionally as well. It's like you're going to have a different perspective on all of this apathy and disconnection, on all of the things that were hurtful and that you lost or that were disappointing or that didn't turn out. And you're going to realize that you've got this cup in front of you. So it's going to completely, like, there is the opportunity this month for your perspective on the things that are lost and that are not working out and that are limiting to be completely shifted around and for you to let go of them entirely. And you don't have to make any major life changes or, decisions, but this is just about like having a completely different shift in perspective and allowing yourself even just the opportunity to consider doing things differently, connecting with more of your passion, believing that there is the opportunity for happiness and love and fulfillment in all areas of your life. So it's like, gosh, that is huge energy. Like, that's really amazing, Aquarius. So I'm going to get to your affirmations, and then I'm going to pull you your final card, your oracle card that I'll read from the book, and see how that ties everything together, and we'll leave it there. So the moment I begin to celebrate myself and focus on my successes is the moment I begin living. Yeah, so it's like your own inherent worth and value. And that's why this never-ending story is so important, because it's like that's the story that we tell ourselves about who we are and what we can do. And if you don't recognize your strengths and celebrate them, then you're not really allowing yourself to live. Sorry, I've got cards on the floor. Okay, you got an extra affirmation, but I'm cool with that because you guys have some big energy this month. Sleep is a spiritual practice. So make sure you're getting your sleep and your rest. That is important for you mentally, physically, and emotionally to rest and recharge. It's also an important time to connect with our intuition and subconscious, which is what's helping to guide you. I can change my patterns when I change my mind about them. This is exactly this. You are not bound to anything. You don't have to do anything a certain way. Even if you've done it that way your entire life, you can change your mind about it at any time. And that's like this emperor energy, right? You don't, just because you're rooted doesn't mean you have to be the exact same and commit to things that don't serve you. I surrender my desires and know the universe has my back. Very much like this here, right? And in the midst of a meltdown, I breathe through the discomfort and come out the other side. So it's like, trust in yourself to navigate your path. Trust that whatever comes up for you, whether difficult or not, you have everything that you need to handle it. And it's just helping you to come more into alignment with yourself. So we like to judge things as positive or negative if based on whether they meet our expectations. But it's really like there's more at play, right? It's not it's not as simple as that. So I'm going to get you one last oracle card, which I will read from the book to see how we can tie this reading together, but I'm very happy with this, and I can see like the theme and the synchronicity already. So one last card for Aquarius. Okay, so the card you got is share your voice, come out of the cave, persecution, expression. So this ties very well to this, like these limiting beliefs and the self-criticism. So it could be the way that you criticize yourself and hold yourself back, that you judge yourself, you limit yourself, or the ways that other people do that and make you feel like you can't be yourself. Okay, let's get this. Share your voice, come out of the cave, persecution, expression. You are being called to share your voice, perhaps by speaking up in a relationship or through writing, speaking, singing, or some other form of creative expression. We each hold a truth deep within us that longs to be expressed. Sculpted for lifetimes, the voice of your soul is like no other. It carries with it wisdom that can only be gained through soul history and growth. By remembering, tapping into, and expressing this unique tone, we not only heal ourselves, we also heal the planet at large. When you share your voice, you unlock something in the universe and call a missing piece of you home. Your individual voice is the most powerful sound current on the planet. If you have kept your soul's voice silenced or held back, chanting or singing could be truly life-changing for you. So there you go, music. As we shed layers of our personality and start letting our unique soul speak through us, we discover that we actually have a very clear message that longs to be shared. The more we speak it, the clearer it gets. That is connected to your vision. This is what you need to give yourself permission to do. There has never been a better time in history than right now to rise up, speak your truth, and share your soul's voice. If you feel fearful, know that you are not alone, and the world needs your unique tone in order to harmonize. As we each rise up to share our song, we make it easier for the next person to do the same. Work Your Light action says express yourself, share your voice, speak to those who can hear you. Yeah, so the people that you feel drawn to and safe to be yourself around, you don't need to bind yourself to these limiting ideas any longer. So Aquarius, I think that's a really lovely note to read this on. This has been an amazing reading. I hope April is good to you. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please do feel free to like the video, leave me a comment. If there's someone you think might enjoy my content, feel free to share it with them. And if you haven't already, you can head on over to my YouTube channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and check out some of my other readings. Make sure you hit subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on future readings as they're posted. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to read for you. I'm very excited for you for this month. I hope everything works out, and I'm looking forward to reading for you again in the future. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.